But there's more controversy about you, and it really is about where you're from and how Somaliland was formed. So I'm going to show our audience, just so they're very aware of what we're talking about. So here, this area here is the Horn of Africa. This part here is known as Somalia, and then I'm going to go in a little bit closer. This part here is known as Somaliland.
Yes, former British Somaliland Protectorate. I didn't form it. It was not born in the 90s, by the way. In fact, it's the first Somali inhabited country in the Horn of Africa that ever became independent before Somalia did. And if you know, in the look in the Horn of Africa, there is La Côte Française des Somalie, French Somaliland, which is now the Republic of Djibouti, French colony. There is La Somalia Italiana, Mogadishu, you've heard of it.
Yes.
And then there's British Somaliland Protectorate, which is where I'm from. The first independent, the firstborn, and the one that initiated union between all Somali-speaking peoples. Because there's people who speak Somali in the north of Kenya, in the 5th region of Ethiopia. There's a Somali inhabited Horn of Africa. And the vision of our politicians, in fact, our late president, Mohammed Ibrahim Egal, my first husband, was to bring all Somali people speaking together. Like when people unite, or companies unite, they unite because they wish that to be fruitful for all parties. They marry because they think, couples marry because they want to have a future together. They want to build together. Unfortunately, a union that came about after Somaliland became independent first in 1960, and then later Somalia Italiana also became independent. That union did not work so well. Like some partnerships work, some do not. And it ended up in a very long civil war between 1982 and in 1991, Somaliland ousted the communist troops of Somalia and Ziad Barre, closed its borders where the British had established it on an Anglo-Italian treaty. So the borders of Somaliland were not made by me.
See, but what's upsetting people is when you do this, and you do this whenever you talk, you say,
Yes.
I'm from Somaliland.
That's where I'm from.
And then people get upset, Somalis get upset, because you're making a differentiation between Somaliland and Somalia.
Absolutely.
And they feel like that it should be unified, and that's where the controversy is.
Yes, well, the
and people
controversy,
get
let me answer
upset with you about that.
We wanted Somalis to be united.
Right.
But circumstances interfered with it, and the union did not work, and was causing the death and damage to the people of Somaliland, who said, well, we went into this union because we wanted things to work, not because we wanted our people to be killed. And then Somaliland closed its borders. Somaliland is doing well. Somaliland is peaceful. Somaliland is democratic. Somaliland is where an old woman like me can build a hospital. You try doing that in Somalia. If they brought that country back to peace and democracy, there would be a platform upon which to build future dialogue upon.
Right.
But one cannot form a dialogue with people who believe in so many violent situations. Piracy, warlordism, terrorism. We do not wish to be part of that. Somaliland is doing very well without those problems. And when Somalia puts the gun down and becomes democratic, then we will sit across the table and see where we pick up our pieces from.
Malika, I feel like we just stirred the pot a bit more. Meanwhile,
collating all these tweets here because, as you mentioned, people do get upset. When we tweeted this tweet out saying, what do you know about Somaliland on our stream account, it just opened up a Pandora's box of different comments.
It should not.
It should not, but I want you to...
That's the reality.
This is one of them. Jason wrote in, I was impressed by Somaliland's stability and security. When do you think its sovereignty will finally be recognized? That's one of the questions. Before you answer that, though, I just want to give you a little taste of what other people are saying. Ibrahim, on the other hand, writes in, Adna started a hospital in Mogadishu in the mid-80s, and after the Civil War, why doesn't she rebuild that hospital?
I don't, because the money I used to start building that hospital in Mogadishu is gone. It's been taken by the warlords. That's it.
So what happened? How developed was that hospital?
The foundation was built. The walls around it were built. I spent about $150,000 trying to build that first hospital in Mogadishu, but because of the war situation, it failed. It did not become complete. But when I started building it in Somaliland, I was able to finish it, I was able to furnish it, and I was able to make it functional. So Why would I not build it? Because I don't have the money that I had then. I can only retire once. I can only have my terminal benefits once, and that I used on the hospital in Somaliland. Maybe it's for somebody who retires like me and picks up a big fat repatriation grant from the UN or from somewhere else to build a hospital in Mogadishu. There is a need for hospitals to be built in Mogadishu, but there is also a need for Mogadishu to be peaceful and stable, like Somaliland is.
I want to play one more question on the Somaliland. Look at you, Deni.
Yes.
You
Go ahead. No, I like that. When Edna takes a pause, we take advantage of that pause.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Exactly. So I'm going to play you this video comment from someone who left this comment.
Hi, my name is Mariam Hussein Osman, and I'm a United Nations International Youth Representative from Somalia. As the political situation continues to improve in Greater Somalia, my question for you, Edna, is from the standpoint of someone who's engaged with the political process in Somaliland, do you see potential for a reconciliation between the two regions? And a bit more specifically, given there isn't an ethnic or a religious divide between Somaliland and Greater Somalia, what political elements do you perceive necessary for a formal reunification between the two?
That's a very good question. Well, first of all, let us know that the two countries are neighboring each other. And Somaliland receives a lot of refugees from Somalia. Somaliland receives a lot of patients from Somalia who need treatment. Fistula patients, for instance, come to us for treatment. Students come to Somaliland to go to school or to go to university. People trade with each other. There is no enmity. We're not enemies. We're people who come from the same ethnic background. The person who dies in Mogadishu is a Somali who is one of my people.
So,
but
what about the future for working together, though?
This is what the world has been trying to do for the past 22 years.
Why do you think why do you think it's failing?
I don't know. We want peace and stability. They do not want peace and stability. So maybe when we want the two things, when they become stable, when they become peaceful, when they become democratic, of course we will trade. Of course we will dialogue. Of course we will find solutions to see whether we reunite again or whether we become good neighbors. But then that question can be answered when Somalia becomes peaceful, democratic, stable to the same level as Somaliland is.